Welcome to the Call to Harmony, where we explore the inner journey to oneness with self, others, and the divine. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being with us again. If you're still here, we talked a lot about dissonance on our last episode, and we're just kind of still in the thick of it now. Tucker's going to continue with his narrative, his experience with dissonance, and what that was like for him. And take it away.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll just say thank you, everybody, for being with us. Like, this is not easy stuff. Dissonance, like we illustrated in the last time with the music notes right next to each other, it makes us want to retract often. And if you're listening to this, I'm impressed that you haven't retracted from this narrative and that you're here with us. So thank you. And so we'll move into it. Last time, I believe I told about experiencing church dissonance in my congregation, where for the first time it became very uncomfortable. I felt like an outsider looking in. And I went on with my dissertation and kept studying, and it became an everyday torture experience for me because this was such new ground. And I felt like something was really wrong with me. Anytime I had felt this feeling of discomfort in my life, I had interpreted it as being God telling me that I was doing something wrong. And so to have this memory of an answer from God saying, yes, do this, and then have this experience over and over again, I was like, wait, which one is God? The discomfort telling me to go away, or the prodding telling me to go forward? And
it's confusing.
Very confusing for me. Dissonance is an utterly bewildering, confusing place oftentimes. So I kept doing it day after day after day, and it started to wear on me. And I still didn't talk to anybody. I would go to work and I would teach, kind of relying on my past spiritual experiences because I wasn't having current spiritual experiences. And I would go to church, keeping my mouth shut, right? Because every time somebody would bring something up, I was like, but there's another perspective. And I had not had good experiences with trying to bring up another perspective, and I'd seen contention come out of it, and I didn't want to be the source of contention. So it was a lonely, isolating, really difficult place to be. And I was wondering if I was going to lose everything precious to me in life. And I remember this one particular day in the library when I was studying some source that was critical of my beliefs and Joseph Smith and the church and things. And on this day, I felt like it was the last straw. It's like I had these pillars of my belief system that had been systematically disintegrating underneath me. And there was like one pillar left. To be honest, I don't even remember what the pillar was. I just remember kind of clinging to it. Like, but this, I still have this. And then as I was reading this book, all of a sudden that pillar just as quick as could be turned to sand and disappeared. And I felt myself in like a psychological free fall. I was thinking, what is true? What can I hold to? What is real? Is everything that I've ever believed made up and just convenient? That was so scary. I remember looking down at the book, and then I looked up, and I was in the library at BYU, and I looked around and saw all these other students, and I saw older missionaries there working, and just all these wonderful people that were donating their time, their lives, and everything. And I looked at them, and I asked a really dark question. At least it seemed dark at the time. Are we all wasting our times? And that was a real, genuine question coming from the depths.
Yeah.
And it was so scary to ask that question. Because if the answer was yes,
your whole life was surrounded around this.
Yeah, it's everything that I had dedicated my life to. I remember that day, everything slowing down, and my mind was really working on that question. are we all wasting our time? And around the same time, I was studying about Oliver Cowdery. He's an early church leader, and his struggles between him and Joseph Smith. And Oliver Cowdery is about to get excommunicated, but he basically says, "You can't fire me, I quit," right? Because of the tensions around it. And as I was studying all of that, I felt things just falling like sand falling through my fingers. And I went home and I sat down on the couch. My wife's nearby, and I said to her, "Oliver Cowdery left the church today." And tears started to pour down my face. And I was sad for Oliver Cowdery, but I was really, really sad for me, because I was wondering if something in me had left.
Yeah.
And if it was my duty to leave, if I didn't believe what I used to believe. And it was so scary and sad. My wife didn't know. She thought I was crying for Oliver, which I was also sad about that. I love Oliver Cowdery.
Up to this point, had your wife known anything else? Like, had you shared with her kind of where you were yet, or was this still all just you on your own?
What she knew is that I was having a hard time with my dissertation chair, because he kept making me study things I didn't want to study.
Okay.
So she could see that I was really struggling.
Yeah.
But she thought I was struggling against him and not against
what was going on inside.
Yeah. She thought it was an outward struggle, not an inward one. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, as she sees me crying and struggling, she's like, "Man, this guy's torturing my husband. He's just got to finish this degree, get this done. Why does this have to be so hard?"
Yeah.
And I entered a really dark time and kept one foot in front of the other, just day by day, trying to get through this day and figure out what to do with life. And I would still have memories of my spiritual experiences in the past, but nothing that I could feel in the future.
How did that feel?
In the present. So
yeah. How did that feel as a teacher, teaching seminary at the time, right?
Yeah.
Like because I've seen you as a teacher, I've had you as a teacher, I've been a teacher. Mm-hmm. Like I know the experience, when it's coming from a genuine place. Mm-hmm. At that stage, did you feel like you were coming from a genuine place and was teaching really hard in that way, because all of your pillars had dropped and, you're feeling this loss inside? I don't know how you did one step in front of the other. So I guess that's what I'm asking with the job and position you were in with church.
It's such a great question. I feel like authenticity is so important. And I wouldn't share or take my students into the places that I was at with my beliefs, because I didn't feel like I wasn't equipped. How could they be equipped?
14-year-olds.
Right. I wasn't at 14. If my teacher would have taken me into these really difficult complexities, I wouldn't have had the ability to be there. But the interesting thing was I was having new gifts come online at the same time that I was having old, maybe gifts slip through my fingers. So I was shifting and changing as a teacher. And in my classroom, I would make space for listening. I would listen to where students were at more. I would allow people to ask questions and just honor the questions and honor that space. And a lot of times I would allow the class to respond
rather than you.
Rather than me. Not because I disagreed with the class, but I really trusted that the group could do better than I could.
Yeah.
So it was a new humility. It wasn't something I had before this.
Trusting a bunch of 14 to 16, 18-year-olds to carry the class.
Yeah, carry the class and help us reach toward God and find peace in the spirit. And this is the cool thing. It works.
Yeah.
There's something in all of us. Like when a student would bring up a question and I didn't have an easy answer for it, I would just say, "All right, so what are some ways to think about this? What are some things that you believe that might help you navigate this? What are some different perspectives that people have on this question?" And it's not something I had done before. In the past, I had often just answered the question and said, "Okay, this is how it is." I didn't know how it was anymore.
Yeah.
And so I would open it up, and sometimes a student would say the thing that I would have said in the past. And sometimes other students would bring up something that I'd never thought of, and that in my class I hadn't made space for. Because there's only one way. There was only the simplicity.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I would have students open up to me more than they had in the past.
That's cool.
Because they sensed a safety to examine their faith, examine their questions. And there were faith-promoting experiences happening in my class. And I could tell that other people were feeling things. And I was happy for that.
Yeah.
Even though I was in such emotional turmoil that I couldn't feel things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't want to give the impression that when we are in dissonance, that we aren't helpful. We aren't able to help others. In fact, sometimes when we're in dissonance, we're able to help in ways that we never could in simplicity.
It just might be hard to recognize, I guess. Because I think of teaching that I've learned from you, and that what you just explained of opening it up to the class is what I lived by when I taught seminary. Was I never wanted to answer anything because I wanted them, and I learned so much of that from you, which is cool to think that at the time in your life that you were in such turmoil, that's where you learned such a beautiful skill as far as teaching and engaging, especially with young people, to trust them enough to provide answers or opinions or whatever. It enables them and shows them, I think, that you trust them, and they always rise up to that, which I learned that from you. But it is hard to feel like wherever you're at when you're in a dark place, like dissonance, that you're contributing in any way.
Yeah. Well said. Oftentimes in the past as a teacher, if I didn't feel good about how things were going in a class setting, I thought that's how everybody felt. But now I was learning that, not everybody feels like me. Everybody's on their own journey, having their own experience, and I can honor that. So that's a new thing that was coming online for me too.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I knew what everybody else was thinking and feeling, and now I'm just like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah.
So
it's cool.
Well, and I really did. I can say I was exercising faith. I was exercising faith that God could lead a class, even when I was having a hard time feeling led. And I was exercising faith that individuals, when asked a real, sincere, genuine question, will learn better by finding their own answer than they will by being given an answer. And we all kind of know that.
Yeah.
Like if everybody listening stops for a moment and thinks, when have I learned the deepest spiritual things in my life? It's probably going to be on your own. During a time of difficulty, when there's a question that you don't have an answer to, or a situation that doesn't click. And so you start reaching for the divine, you start reaching spiritually, and all of a sudden learning opens up. Ironically, looking back before this point, I think I might have put a cork in a lot of learning because I felt like I had an answer instead of opening it up so that people could learn wherever they were at by allowing the questions to do their work and the spiritual seeking to provide fertile ground for individual spiritual growth.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps with that question.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I navigated things. And honestly, that's how I continue to navigate things. And I still teach and I love it. And I have more trust than ever that each individual needs to feel their own way along and learn for themselves. And the more I can do to trust them and to trust the divine, the more helpful it is for them.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
So as I'm navigating that and doing my best, time goes on, and I'll kind of skip to the end of this. So this doesn't go on forever, but I'm getting to the end of my degree. But then again, my chair won't let it end. I feel like I've finished writing all the chapters, and he'll say, no, go back and tell me more about Joseph Smith's polygamy. or go tell me more about this or this. And if I ever say that doesn't have anything to do with my topic, then he'll be like, you're running from it, go. And so I was having this really interesting experience. Interesting isn't how I would have described it, but this experience of digging deeper and wanting to finish, but just hitting a dead end. And one morning I woke up and I was just full of anger. I was just like, this is never going to end. My chair is religiously persecuting me, is what I felt like it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know who to appeal to or what to do about this. He holds my destiny in his hands. And I was totally distraught.
Yeah.
And so, there's this beautiful verse in the Book of Mormon that says that when Jesus says, he that has the spirit of contention is not of me, but is of the devil, who is the father of contention. And he stirs up the hearts of men to contend with anger one with another. Sorry to just pop that up.
Scriptorian.
It's in there. So he's saying, yeah, you can't have the spirit of contention. And I was like, that's all I have. That's the only spirit I have at this point in my life. I know the kinds of spirit to really hit me. And so I kneeled down and just pled in prayer. I just asked God to take this contention from me because it was absolute misery. And so I got in my car and I put on a talk by one of our church leaders, Dieter F. Uchtdorf. And in the talk, he said, if God is with us, who shall be against us? And while I was driving, I had what felt like an out-of-body experience. All of a sudden, when I heard, if God is with us, who shall be against us? I remembered this impression that I got in the Provo Temple to write about Joseph Smith. And then I saw the subsequent timeline of me feeling like I was in darkness. And I just had this intense sense that God was with me the entire time, all through it. And that it wasn't that he wasn't there. It's just that I couldn't feel him while I was in the darkness. And we talked about the emotional distress that makes it so hard to feel.
Yeah.
As I had that insight come to me, I felt light just come in my head and wash through my entire body. And as dark as the darkness had been, as challenging as it had been, is how powerful the light was and how much it filled me with love and hope and understanding. And I felt like the earth was transformed into heaven. Like I was just driving my car. Did you remember the experience from, I think, our first episode when I talked about driving down and loving the neon lights and the people and everything? I was there again.
Yeah.
I experienced harmony. It was just this state of everything I saw, everyone I saw, I just completely loved them. There was no judgment in me. There was no us versus them. I just had full and complete utter love for everybody and everything. And I went to work and I was just like, I have the best job in the world. It's the coolest thing ever. And I went home, my family, I just love everything about it. And there's all of the things that would distress me in life didn't distress me anymore. And it happened for multiple days. And I went to church. I remember I got back up at church, spoke at the microphone, and I was just like, I just feel the Lord's love so much recently. Like I'm working on this dissertation, but I told my wife that, hey, I'm willing to do this for the rest of my life if I can feel this close to God. And of course, my wife's response was like, oh, no, you don't. You're going to finish this thing and you're going to
It's like, we're done.
We are so done. She was tired of watching me suffer. It was an incredible experience and an absolutely contrasting experience to the Dissonance.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, I felt like I didn't have any answers to my questions. Like I had all these questions about history and about doctrine and about beliefs, but in harmony, those questions just seemed so insignificant. They didn't seem to matter at all.
Yeah.
My only desire was to just stay connected to this divine feeling and experience of life. And it was beautiful. Really, really amazing few days.
Yeah, it sounds great.
And slowly I went back to studying, and dissonance came back. And yet it never quite came back to the level of darkness that it had been before, because I had some hope that I could experience harmony while
Experiencing those other things.
yes, while holding it.
Yeah. So would you say, I think that for people listening and people that are maybe experiencing similar things, I think we love to know that there's an end time. Like, okay, my dissonance will be approximately 3 months long, or whatever it might be. And in this case, like there was, obviously at this point now you can look back and say, okay, yeah, it was X amount of time and I had these days, and then dissonance was still there, but it wasn't as intense. Like, what would you say to people? What would you say to someone who's in that dark, dark place before you had those few days of love and harmony and all that? What would you say to them to stay afloat? Because I feel like that stage is so dark and you know what that felt like. And I do believe that those days of harmony come and connecting with the divine. But sometimes, the length of time might be longer or shorter or who knows what for every person. This experience of dissonance is different for every person. I think yours was really intense. I think mine maybe wasn't quite as intense as yours. Still similar feelings, but we talked a little bit before we started recording this that Tucker's your whole life was surrounded by church, seminary, your calling, your whole life was church. And of course, when your pillar started to fall, those crashes were probably louder and more intense than maybe mine were. Again, similar feelings, but I think, yeah, what would you say to a listener that's not had the days of harmony yet to hold on to?
It's a beautiful question. I want to say so much. Maybe
there's no answer, harmony, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I definitely can't fix it.
For sure.
And in an ironic way, I don't want to, because dissonance is carving out a place for harmony. And as much as I want to reduce somebody else's pain, that pain is creating space in our soul to hold what's coming. And I don't know if that helps anybody in the middle of dissonance. But a few things that I would say, and I would say that this entire podcast, at least this first season of the podcast, is going to be a response to that question, Savannah. How do we move toward harmony? And so I want to say that there is light ahead, that there is purpose in the difficulty and the pain. The pain is a sign of potential transformation and growth, not a sign of sin or wrongdoing. That you, just like you've gotten through difficult things in the past and grown from it and come out on the other side better, deeper, more wise, more empathetic, more able to be there for other people, this too is going to carve out that capability, potential for you to be a greater impact on others that are in similar places. I mean, there's so many things I want to say to somebody in that place, but maybe first I just want to say it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard beyond words. And it's okay that it's hard. And maybe one more thing to say is the pivot point for me that I've discovered over time and looking back. When did I start moving more into harmony instead of being stuck in dissonance? I think you alluded to in the last episode, you said, I started to accept dissonance. The way through dissonance is not by fight or flight, fighting against it, trying to get rid of it, or running away from it. The way through dissonance is by accepting it, allowing it to do what it's doing. Maybe even, this sounds crazy, thanking it for the work that it's doing in your soul.
Hmm.
And that is an extreme act of faith, to thank pain for the service it's rendering to you. But there's no other way forward other than acceptance, surrender, and a trust. So it's this radical faith that, oh, I am being called to harmony. Something is calling me into this pain.
Mm.
And we can look at all kinds of examples in the history of the world. Those that are Christian and believe in Christ can look at times when Jesus would be faced with extraordinary pain or difficulty. And instead of going into fight or flight, he would just yield to it, right?
Yeah.
In Gethsemane, he prays, Father, if this cup can pass from me, please take it. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine. That right there, I think, captures the acceptance and surrender that harmony calls for.
Yeah.
Our brain, our nervous system is going to respond with no more discomfort. But if we go a little bit deeper underneath that, if we can become still enough to feel the depths of our souls, we'll hear, it's okay. This is my will, and I'm making you into something that you can't be unless you let me do some carving, let me do some molding, sculpting.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's beyond hard. Hard is not a sufficiently powerful word.
Yeah. But I think the acceptance and the purpose of dissonance can help with the experience of dissonance.
Absolutely. And there's one more thing that I'd point out here. If we want to move forward, we need to make a pivot that I wasn't making very well because I was blaming my professor for all of my pain. And I needed to make this pivot. Instead of trying to change the world around me, change the people at church, change my professor, change anybody that's, not making space for me or listening to me. Instead of trying to change others, I needed to look inside and let go of my own contention, let go of my own resistance. That's when harmony becomes possible. None of us are going to be able to change this outside world. In fact, the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching, it's one of my favorite ancient books. He says something like this: I don't think I can change this world. I don't think it can be done. The world is sacred. And that's a radical view, right? We usually don't look at this world and think, wow, this is a sacred place. We think, man, what's wrong with this and why this? Why do these people think like this? Yeah. So many problems. But if our purpose for being here in this life is to transform and grow, this life is perfectly arranged for that.
It's true.
If our purpose to be here is to change the world, then we're all failing miserably.
That is an impossible task.
Yeah. I mean, we are changing the world, right? I'm not saying it's all or nothing on either side, but we are here primarily to transform, is my conviction. And every day is perfectly arranged for that. I'm going to have a little annoyance. Oh, that's a chance for me to open up, accept that, surrender, and transform because of it. I'm going to have a conflict or a contention or somebody that's trying to push me away I don't want to go. And instead of fighting against that person, I can look inside and be like, where's my resistance? I can let that go. And since this experience, Savannah, there's been so many times where in the middle of a difficult problem or struggle, I've remembered, oh, I'm not supposed to fix this. I'm supposed to accept it. And then in the middle of the experience, it transforms to something beautiful and transformative. And I'm able to feel harmony. Even if somebody's yelling at me. I've had that experience, somebody just yelling at me. And I was like, oh, yeah. I'm supposed to transform and let go. And just sit there and find a harmony experience while I'm being yelled at. And guess how long the yelling lasts after that? Not very long, because there's nobody resisting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oftentimes the person gets it out and then they're like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I just needed to express that. And I'm like, oh, I understand.
Yeah.
Those are really strong feelings. I'm really glad you shared them with me.
Yeah.
And then we go away bonded to each other. It's the craziest thing.
It's incredible.
Harmony is the most miraculous experience.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But we only get there through acceptance, not
Yeah.
through resistance.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So I don't know, there's so much to talk about as far as dissonance goes. Should we wrap up? Do you have any last thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think that was beautifully said. I think those thoughts of acceptance feel helpful. I think I'm still in maybe some dissonance, even though I did talk about acceptance last time, but I think just being reminded of it is helpful, and turning any opportunity, like being yelled at, as an experience to, oh, like I could practice this. I think as those feelings of dissonance are coming up in whatever situation, to notice them and be like, oh, this is an opportunity instead of this is just pain that I'm feeling, I think helps promote that process of experiencing harmony.
Absolutely. And it's so counter to the way that you usually experience life.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that very much in society.
Yeah.
Our defense system kicks up when somebody attacks, right?
Yeah.
But what we're talking about here is another way to live, the way that Jesus taught, the way that Buddha taught, the way that Lao Tzu taught, the way that Gandhi, transformed a nation, and so many beautiful examples of people that have discovered, oh, there's a different way to be in this world.
Yeah.
And I can yield, which sounds weak to some, but it is the only real true strength.
Yeah.
Is to head toward harmony, because we're all being called there. So maybe we end there for now.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you will join us next time on The Call to Harmony.